The bathroom stands as one of the most frequented spaces in our homes, yet few realize it harbors hidden dangers that claim thousands of lives each year. As a neurologist who has spent over 3 decades treating stroke patients, I have witnessed firsthand how ordinary daily routines can transform into life-altering medical emergencies. The patterns became impossible to ignore after years of asking the same questions to patients and their families, hearing the same timeline repeated countless times. They were fine in the morning, took their usual shower, and then everything changed. Statistics paint a sobering picture that demands our attention. More than 6 million people worldwide lose their lives to strokes annually, with millions more surviving but facing permanent disabilities. What makes these numbers particularly troubling is that research consistently shows a dramatic spike in stroke incidents during morning hours, precisely when most people engage in their bathing routines. The correlation extends beyond mere coincidence. Studies published in leading medical journals have documented that stroke risk increases by over 60% during the early morning period, with many incidents occurring within minutes of water exposure. The human body undergoes complex physiological changes when exposed to water at various temperatures, and these changes become increasingly significant as we age. Blood vessels that once responded flexibly to temperature variations grow rigid with time. The cardiovascular system that effortlessly managed pressure changes in youth now struggles to maintain equilibrium. These natural aging processes create vulnerabilities that everyday activities can exploit, turning routine hygiene into potential health hazards. Consider what happens when someone finishes a substantial meal and immediately heads for a relaxing shower. The digestive process demands significant blood flow redirection toward the stomach and intestines, a phenomenon medical professionals term postprandial blood redistribution. During this critical period, which can last up to 90 minutes after eating, the brain and peripheral muscles receive reduced blood supply as the body prioritizes digestion. This temporary redistribution represents a normal physiological response that rarely causes problems under ordinary circumstances. However, introducing hot water to this equation creates a dangerous multiplication of effects. Heat causes blood vessels throughout the body to dilate, widening significantly to release excess warmth. This vasodilation drops blood pressure further, compounding the already reduced cerebral blood flow from digestion. The brain, which requires consistent oxygen delivery to function properly, suddenly faces a critical shortage. For younger individuals with elastic vessels and robust compensatory mechanisms, this dual challenge poses minimal risk. But for those over 60, whose vascular systems have lost flexibility and whose blood pressure regulation has weakened, this combination can prove catastrophic. I recall treating Harold, a 70-year-old retired teacher who had maintained the same Sunday routine for decades. Family dinners followed by what he described as his therapeutic hot shower had never caused problems before. One evening, his wife heard him call out weakly from the bathroom. She found him gripping the shower wall, his speech slurred and vision blurred. The emergency room diagnosis revealed a transient ischemic attack, commonly known as a mini-stroke. The triggering factor was the precise combination we had seen numerous times before. A heavy meal followed immediately by hot water exposure had created the perfect storm for cerebrovascular compromise. The solution requires neither complex medical intervention nor expensive equipment. Simply waiting 45 to 60 minutes after eating before showering allows the digestive process to progress without creating dangerous competition for blood flow. During this waiting period, light movement such as clearing dishes or taking a gentle walk actually assists circulation rather than challenging it. When the shower does come, keeping water at moderate temperatures prevents excessive vasodilation that could further compromise blood pressure stability. The second major risk factor involves the duration and intensity of heat exposure during bathing. Many seniors view their extended hot showers as a form of self-care, a daily ritual that provides both physical comfort and psychological relief. The warmth soothes aching joints, relaxes tense muscles, and creates a sense of well-being that becomes increasingly precious with age. Yet this same comforting heat triggers physiological responses that can overwhelm an aging cardiovascular system. Prolonged exposure to hot water forces blood vessels to remain dilated for extended periods. This sustained vasodilation gradually lowers blood pressure as more blood pools in the expanded peripheral vessels rather than returning efficiently to the heart and brain. Young adults possess robust baroreceptor reflexes that quickly detect and correct these pressure changes. Their hearts respond by increasing output, their vessels constrict selectively to maintain cerebral perfusion, and their bodies maintain homeostasis despite the thermal challenge. The aging process diminishes these protective mechanisms dramatically. Baroreceptors become less sensitive, responding slowly or inadequately to pressure drops. The heart muscle, often stiffened by years of work, cannot increase output as readily. Blood vessels lined with decades of accumulated deposits respond sluggishly to signals for constriction. What begins as a gradual pressure decline can cascade into dangerous hypotension, starving the brain of oxygen at the precise moment when a small clot or vessel spasm could trigger a stroke. Gloria, a 72-year-old grandmother, had always cherished her long morning showers. She would stand under the steaming water for 30 minutes or more, considering it her primary form of relaxation. One morning, her husband heard a crash and found her collapsed against the bathroom wall, conscious but unable to form coherent words. The hospital evaluation revealed she had suffered a mild ischemic stroke. The extended heat exposure had lowered her blood pressure to dangerous levels just as a small embolus lodged in one of her cerebral arteries. What she had considered therapeutic self-care had actually been steadily increasing her stroke risk with each extended session. Medical evidence supports limiting hot shower duration to 10 minutes or less for individuals over 60. The water temperature should remain warm rather than hot, ideally below 40 degrees Celsius. These limits might seem restrictive to those accustomed to longer, hotter showers, but they represent crucial safety boundaries based on physiological realities. The goal is not to eliminate comfort but to find the balance point where relaxation does not compromise cerebrovascular stability. The danger intensifies when seniors remain motionless under flowing hot water, a habit that might seem harmless but creates a perfect storm of cardiovascular stress. Standing still allows blood to accumulate in the lower extremities, a process gravity naturally encourages. Under normal circumstances, muscle contractions in the legs act as auxiliary pumps, helping push blood back toward the heart against gravitational pull. This mechanism, often called the muscle pump or the second heart, plays a crucial role in maintaining circulation during upright posture. When someone stands motionless in hot water, this vital pumping action ceases while simultaneously the heat causes widespread vasodilation. Blood vessels in the legs expand and hold increasing volumes of blood that should be circulating back to vital organs. The combination creates what cardiovascular specialists recognize as a venous pooling crisis. Blood pressure drops progressively as less blood returns to the heart, cardiac output decreases, and cerebral perfusion suffers. For an aging brain already compromised by arterial stiffness and reduced autoregulation, this scenario can quickly progress from uncomfortable to dangerous. Robert, a 69-year-old former engineer, had developed a meditation practice during his morning showers. He would stand perfectly still under the hot spray, eyes closed, focusing on the sensation of water against his skin. This practice had brought him peace for years until one morning when his wife heard an unusual thud. She discovered him slumped against the shower wall, barely conscious but fortunately still breathing. Emergency department evaluation revealed he had experienced a transient ischemic attack triggered by severe orthostatic hypotension. The combination of heat, stillness, and time had created conditions where his brain simply could not maintain adequate perfusion. The physiological cascade that occurs during prolonged standing in heat follows a predictable pattern. Within minutes, blood begins accumulating in dilated leg vessels. The heart initially compensates by increasing rate, but without the assistance of muscle pumps, this compensation proves insufficient. Cerebral autoregulation, already compromised by age, fails to maintain consistent brain blood flow as systemic pressure continues dropping. Eventually, critical thresholds are crossed where even brief interruptions in flow can trigger ischemic events. Prevention requires conscious movement during showering, even simple actions like shifting weight between feet, flexing calf muscles, or gently moving arms. These movements need not be vigorous or disruptive to the bathing process. Simply stepping in place, reaching for soap, or turning to rinse different body parts maintains enough muscle pump activity to support venous return. The key lies in avoiding prolonged stillness, particularly when combined with heat exposure that magnifies circulatory challenges. The modern wellness trend of cold water therapy presents another significant risk for older adults, though from an entirely different mechanism. Social media platforms overflow with videos of people plunging into ice baths or ending showers with bursts of freezing water, touting benefits ranging from improved immunity to enhanced mental clarity. While controlled cold exposure may offer certain benefits for younger, healthy individuals, the sudden shock of cold water triggers responses that can prove catastrophic for aging cardiovascular systems. Cold water contact initiates immediate and powerful vasoconstriction as blood vessels slam shut to preserve core temperature. This rapid constriction drives blood pressure skyward as the heart must suddenly pump against dramatically increased resistance. In young adults with elastic arteries and robust adaptation mechanisms, this pressure spike resolves quickly without consequence. However, vessels stiffened by age and lined with atherosclerotic plaques cannot accommodate such sudden pressure increases safely. The danger multiplies when considering that many seniors have undiagnosed or poorly controlled hypertension. Their baseline blood pressure already runs higher than optimal, and their vessels bear the cumulative damage of years of elevated pressure. Adding the acute spike from cold water exposure can push vulnerable vessels past their breaking point. Cerebral arteries, particularly those already weakened by age or disease, may rupture under this sudden load, causing hemorrhagic stroke. Alternatively, the pressure surge can dislodge existing plaques or trigger vasospasm that leads to ischemic events. Janet, a 65-year-old fitness enthusiast, had embraced cold shower therapy after reading about its potential benefits online. She began ending each morning shower with 2 minutes of the coldest water her system could produce. Initially, she felt invigorated and attributed improved energy to this new practice. However, one morning the cold water triggered an immediate, crushing sensation in her chest followed by dizziness and right-hand weakness. Her husband recognized stroke symptoms and called emergency services immediately. Hospital evaluation confirmed she had suffered a minor stroke precipitated by the acute hypertensive response to cold exposure. The cardiovascular response to sudden cold involves more than simple vasoconstriction. The shock triggers massive sympathetic nervous system activation, flooding the body with stress hormones like epinephrine and norepinephrine. Heart rate accelerates paradoxically even as vessels constrict, creating tremendous cardiac workload. Blood becomes more viscous in cold conditions, increasing clotting risk. Platelets activate more readily, and the entire coagulation cascade shifts toward a prothrombotic state. For someone with existing cardiovascular disease or risk factors, these combined effects transform cold water from wellness tool to serious threat. Safer approaches to temperature therapy exist for those interested in the potential benefits. Gradual temperature transitions allow the cardiovascular system time to adapt without dangerous spikes in pressure or hormone release. Starting with lukewarm water and slowly adjusting temperature over several minutes permits controlled vasoconstriction without shock responses. Even then, extreme cold should be avoided entirely for individuals over 60 or those with known cardiovascular conditions. The position of the head during hair washing represents another overlooked risk factor with serious implications for stroke prevention. Most people give no thought to how they position themselves while shampooing, yet prolonged forward bending or backward tilting can compromise blood flow through crucial arteries supplying the brain. The vertebral arteries, which run through the cervical spine and provide approximately 20% of brain blood flow, become particularly vulnerable during sustained neck flexion or extension. The mechanics of hair washing seem simple enough, yet the neck positions required can create dangerous disruptions in cerebral blood flow. When the head tilts forward for extended periods, the vertebral arteries running through the cervical spine experience compression and stretching forces they were not designed to withstand repeatedly. These paired vessels contribute essential blood supply to the posterior brain, including regions controlling balance, vision, and vital autonomic functions. Any compromise in their flow can trigger immediate neurological symptoms or, worse, permanent damage. Medical literature has documented this phenomenon extensively, with cases appearing in stroke journals worldwide. The term beauty parlor stroke emerged after multiple incidents where clients suffered cerebrovascular events during salon hair washing. The combination of neck hyperextension over sink edges and prolonged positioning created perfect conditions for arterial dissection. Small tears formed in vessel walls, leading to clot formation and subsequent stroke. While salon sinks drew initial attention, home showers present identical risks when people maintain awkward neck positions while washing their hair. The arterial anatomy of the neck makes certain positions particularly hazardous. The vertebral arteries must navigate through small openings in the cervical vertebrae, making multiple turns before entering the skull. Age-related changes including arthritis, disc degeneration, and bone spurs narrow these already tight passages. Add the mechanical stress of prolonged flexion or extension, and blood flow can diminish critically or cease entirely. Even young adults have suffered strokes from extreme neck positions, but seniors face exponentially higher risk due to their compromised vascular flexibility. Carla, a 67-year-old retired nurse, prided herself on maintaining excellent hygiene and appearance despite her age. Her nightly routine included thorough hair washing with her head bent forward for several minutes while she massaged shampoo into her scalp. She had performed this routine thousands of times without incident until one evening when straightening up triggered severe vertigo. Within moments, she noticed right arm weakness and difficulty forming words. Her daughter recognized stroke symptoms immediately and called for emergency transport. Imaging revealed a small infarct in her posterior circulation, directly attributable to position-related arterial compromise during hair washing. The relationship between neck position and stroke risk extends beyond simple mechanical compression. Sustained awkward positioning triggers reflex responses that further compromise circulation. Baroreceptors in the neck arteries can misinterpret mechanical pressure as elevated blood pressure, triggering inappropriate vasodilation elsewhere in the body. This reflexive response compounds the direct mechanical effects, creating multiple pathways to cerebrovascular compromise. Additionally, prolonged positioning allows time for microclots to form in areas of sluggish flow, which then embolize when normal position resumes. Prevention strategies focus on maintaining neutral neck alignment during hair care. Handheld shower attachments allow hair washing without extreme neck positions. When bending is necessary, limiting duration to 30 seconds or less before returning to neutral reduces risk significantly. Alternating between slight forward and backward tilting, rather than maintaining one extreme position, helps preserve blood flow while still accomplishing thorough cleaning. For those with known cervical spine issues or previous stroke history, consulting with healthcare providers about safest positioning becomes essential. The morning hours present a uniquely dangerous window for stroke occurrence, with risk peaking between 6 and noon. This timing coincides precisely with when most people take their morning showers, creating a troubling overlap between physiological vulnerability and common behavior. The body undergoes dramatic changes upon waking that create ideal conditions for cerebrovascular events, changes that hot water exposure can dangerously amplify. Cortisol levels surge naturally in early morning hours, preparing the body for waking activity. This hormonal spike increases blood pressure, accelerates heart rate, and enhances blood clotting tendency, all evolutionary adaptations meant to prepare for daily activities. However, these same adaptations create cardiovascular stress that aging bodies struggle to manage. Blood pressure can rise 30 to 40% within the first hour of waking, placing tremendous strain on vessels that have stiffened overnight. During sleep, the body maintains a horizontal position for hours, allowing blood to distribute evenly without fighting gravity. Upon rising, circulation must rapidly readjust to vertical positioning, requiring complex coordination between heart rate, vascular tone, and pressure regulation. Young adults accomplish this transition smoothly, but seniors often experience orthostatic instability that can last 30 minutes or longer after rising. Adding the vasodilation of a hot shower to this already unstable period multiplies stroke risk dramatically. The phenomenon of morning blood pressure surge has drawn extensive research attention, with studies consistently demonstrating its role in stroke timing. Japanese researchers documented that individuals with exaggerated morning surges faced triple the stroke risk of those with gradual pressure increases. The combination of natural morning vulnerability and hot water exposure creates what neurologists recognize as a critical risk period requiring special precautions. Frank, a 70-year-old former military officer, had maintained the same rigid morning schedule for decades. Rising at 6, he immediately showered and shaved, priding himself on efficiency and punctuality. His wife found him unconscious in the shower one morning, the water still running. Emergency evaluation revealed a hemorrhagic stroke that doctors attributed to the deadly combination of morning pressure surge and immediate hot water exposure. His recovery required months of rehabilitation, forever changing his perspective on morning routines. The physiological stress of morning extends beyond blood pressure alone. Platelet aggregation increases in early hours, making blood stickier and more prone to clotting. Endothelial function, the ability of vessel linings to regulate flow and prevent clot adhesion, reaches its daily nadir in morning hours. Heart rate variability, a marker of cardiovascular adaptability, shows reduced flexibility upon waking. These factors converge to create what researchers term the perfect storm period for stroke occurrence. Temperature contrast therapy, alternating between hot and cold water, has gained popularity as a circulation booster and recovery tool. Athletes and wellness enthusiasts promote rapid temperature switching as a way to train vascular responsiveness and enhance overall health. However, for aging cardiovascular systems, this practice represents one of the most dangerous shower habits imaginable, forcing vessels through repeated cycles of extreme dilation and constriction that can trigger catastrophic failure. The violent oscillation between vasodilation and vasoconstriction creates pressure waves that propagate through the entire vascular tree. Each switch from hot to cold forces an immediate reversal of blood vessel diameter, generating mechanical stress equivalent to repeatedly inflating and deflating a balloon. Young, elastic vessels tolerate this stress with remarkable resilience, but vessels stiffened by age and accumulated damage cannot withstand such repeated assault. Microscopic tears develop in vessel walls, plaques destabilize, and the risk of acute vascular events climbs exponentially with each temperature cycle. Evelyn, a 69-year-old yoga instructor, had embraced contrast showers after reading about their purported benefits for inflammation and recovery. Her routine involved 3 cycles of 2 minutes hot followed by 30 seconds cold, a protocol she had followed for several weeks without apparent issue. One morning, during the transition from her second hot phase to cold, she experienced sudden dizziness and left-sided numbness. Her daughter found her confused and struggling to speak clearly. Hospital evaluation confirmed an ischemic stroke caused by plaque rupture in her carotid artery, almost certainly triggered by the extreme pressure fluctuations of contrast therapy. The biochemical responses to temperature switching extend far beyond simple mechanical stress. Rapid cooling triggers massive catecholamine release as the sympathetic nervous system activates to preserve core temperature. These stress hormones cause immediate vasoconstriction, increased heart rate, and enhanced platelet activation. Switching back to heat reverses these processes abruptly, creating a hormonal whiplash effect. The endothelium, already compromised by age, cannot properly regulate these wild swings, leading to dysfunction that promotes clot formation and reduces natural anticoagulation mechanisms. Blood viscosity changes dramatically with temperature shifts, becoming thicker in cold and thinner in heat. These rheological changes affect how blood flows through narrowed vessels and around existing plaques. The shear stress at vessel walls varies wildly during temperature transitions, potentially dislodging unstable plaques or triggering vasospasm in susceptible arteries. For someone with existing atherosclerosis, which includes most adults over 60, each temperature switch represents a roll of the dice with potentially devastating stakes. The immune and inflammatory responses to temperature contrast add another layer of risk. Cold exposure triggers acute inflammatory markers while heat suppresses them, creating an inflammatory seesaw that destabilizes existing vascular lesions. Vulnerable plaques with thin fibrous caps become increasingly likely to rupture under these alternating inflammatory states. The healing processes that normally maintain vascular integrity cannot function properly when repeatedly disrupted by temperature extremes. Among all dangerous shower habits, taking very hot showers immediately before bed represents perhaps the greatest threat to aging brains. This seemingly relaxing routine combines multiple risk factors in a way that maximizes stroke probability during the overnight hours when medical help is least accessible. The physiological changes induced by nighttime hot water exposure persist long after leaving the shower, creating extended vulnerability during sleep when protective reflexes are diminished. Circadian rhythms naturally lower blood pressure during evening hours as the body prepares for sleep. This nocturnal dipping serves important restorative functions but also creates a period of reduced cerebral perfusion pressure. Adding the vasodilation from hot water drives pressure even lower, potentially below critical thresholds needed to maintain brain blood flow. Unlike daytime hypotension that triggers compensatory mechanisms and conscious awareness of symptoms, nighttime pressure drops occur silently while protective reflexes are suppressed by sleep. The temperature regulation system faces unique challenges at night that hot showers severely exacerbate. Core body temperature must drop for normal sleep initiation, but hot water exposure raises it significantly. The body responds by dilating peripheral vessels even further to dissipate heat, compounding the hypotensive effect. This thermoregulatory vasodilation can persist for hours, maintaining dangerously low perfusion pressure throughout the night. Seniors, whose thermoregulation has already declined with age, face particularly prolonged periods of compromised circulation. Leonard, a 73-year-old widower, had developed a nightly ritual of long, hot showers to help him relax before bed. The routine seemed to improve his sleep quality, and he looked forward to it each evening. One night, he felt unusually weak after his shower but attributed it to fatigue and went directly to bed. By morning, his speech was severely slurred and facial droop was obvious. Emergency evaluation revealed he had suffered a significant stroke during the night, with evidence suggesting it occurred within hours of his shower. The delay in treatment, caused by the stroke occurring during sleep, resulted in permanent disability that might have been prevented with immediate intervention. The hormonal environment at night creates additional vulnerabilities that hot showers exploit. Melatonin production, essential for sleep, also affects vascular tone and blood pressure regulation. Growth hormone release during early sleep phases influences fluid balance and vascular permeability. The complex interplay of these hormones with heat-induced vasodilation creates unpredictable effects on cerebral circulation. Research has shown that stroke risk peaks during the final hours of sleep, precisely when the cumulative effects of nighttime hot showers would be most pronounced. Sleep position compounds the risks associated with bedtime hot showers. Many people sleep with multiple pillows or in positions that compromise neck alignment, potentially restricting blood flow through cervical arteries. The combination of positional restriction and shower-induced hypotension creates dual threats to cerebral perfusion. Additionally, sleep apnea, common in older adults, causes repeated drops in oxygen saturation that further stress the brain during periods of already compromised circulation. Prevention strategies must address both timing and temperature to maximize safety. Evening showers should occur at least 90 minutes before sleep, allowing time for body temperature and blood pressure to normalize. Water temperature should remain moderate, warm enough for comfort but not hot enough to trigger significant vasodilation. The duration should be limited to 10 minutes or less, reducing cumulative heat exposure. For those who find evening showers essential for sleep, Gradual cooling toward the end helps initiate the temperature drop needed for healthy sleep while avoiding extreme vasodilation. The accumulated evidence presents a clear picture of how seemingly innocent shower habits can dramatically increase stroke risk in aging populations. Each dangerous practice compounds the natural vulnerabilities that develop with age, creating opportunities for catastrophic vascular events. Understanding these risks empowers seniors to modify their routines in simple ways that preserve the comfort and hygiene benefits of showering while dramatically reducing stroke probability. The solutions require no special equipment or significant lifestyle changes, merely awareness and small adjustments to existing routines. Waiting after meals, limiting heat exposure duration, maintaining movement, avoiding temperature extremes, keeping proper head position, allowing morning adjustment time, rejecting contrast therapy, and modifying bedtime routines represent simple changes with profound protective effects. These modifications cost nothing but conscious attention, yet they could prevent thousands of strokes annually. The tragedy lies not in the complexity of prevention but in the lack of awareness that risk exists. Most seniors have no idea their daily shower could trigger a stroke, no knowledge that timing and temperature matter, no understanding of how age has changed their vulnerability. This information gap represents a public health failure that costs lives and independence every single day. By spreading awareness of these risks and their simple solutions, we can protect our aging population from preventable catastrophes hiding in the most mundane of daily activities.